take a moment to remember the early days of Stephen Lee's incredible journey in the snooker world, a time when his talent shone brightly and left the snooker circuit in awe. It didn't take long for Stephen Lee to turn heads. From his earliest matches, the young player quickly began to rise through the ranks, winning over fans and fellow competitors alike with his steady hand and precise shots. With each match, he showcased an undeniable mastery of the game. His calm demeanor under pressure and ability to read the table like a seasoned veteran made it clear that he was not just another player, but a force to be reckoned with. Before long, Lee was collecting ranking titles, one after another, his trophy shelf becoming a testament to his growing dominance in the sport. But perhaps the most impressive achievement was his climb to the prestigious number 5 spot in the world rankings, a level of success that few players reach so quickly. However, as his career reached new heights, what came next for Lee would shock not only the snooker world, but the entire sports community. Stephen Lee's success wasn't just about winning, it was about how he played the game. His unique blend of precision, strategy, and flair set him apart from the rest. There was an elegance to his shots, a level of strategic thinking that captivated audiences worldwide. He had a way of turning even the most challenging frames into opportunities, making every match he played a masterclass in the art of snooker. But as with many rising stars, the higher he climbed, the more intense the pressure became. For Lee, maintaining that level of performance wasn't always easy. His brilliant form started to show cracks. Inconsistency began creeping into his game, and with every missed shot, every unexpected loss, his confidence wavered. The pressure mounted, and soon, his ranking reflected the struggles he was facing. From being the 5th best in the world, Lee's standing in the snooker community began to fall, a sharp contrast to the early days of triumph. But despite the setbacks, Lee's story was far from over, and what would come next in his career would be more than just a battle on the snooker table. It would be a fight for his reputation. As Stephen Lee's performance on the snooker table began to waver, his life took a dramatic and unexpected turn. In February 2010, the once celebrated player found himself at the center of a scandal that would forever alter his career. Lee was arrested, sending shockwaves through the snooker world and beyond. The allegations: match fixing.
Snooker and Stephen Lee will today find out his punishment after being found guilty of 7 match-fixing charges.
A charge that would spark not only an investigation, but ongoing suspicion surrounding his past performances. This wasn't just about a few bad matches. Questions were raised about odd losses in high-profile games between 2008 and 2009. Losses that, to many, seemed suspiciously uncharacteristic of a player with Lee's talent. To make matters worse, unusual betting patterns were detected around these matches, intensifying the speculation. While Lee maintained his innocence, the mounting evidence led to a suspension. Suddenly, the player who had once climbed to the top 5 in the world rankings was sidelined from the sport he loved. But this was only the beginning of a much longer and more complicated saga, one that would expose deep fractures in the world of professional snooker. At one point, Stephen Lee was a name synonymous with excellence in the snooker world. His rise to the top, filled with ranking titles and a number 5 world ranking, had cemented his place among the sport's elite. But in a stunning turn of events, the same player who had been celebrated for his precision and flair on the snooker table found himself entangled in one of the most shocking scandals in the sport's history: match fixing. The scandal that surfaced in 2010 led to a full-blown investigation. By 2013, the findings were clear, and the result was devastating for Lee's career. He was handed a 12-year suspension, effectively ending his chances of a comeback at the highest level. This punishment was one of the harshest ever given in snooker, and it sent a strong message throughout the sporting community. Admired Lee's incredible skill were left disillusioned, and the impact on the sport was profound. The match-fixing scandal cast a long shadow over snooker, raising questions about integrity and fair play. Stephen Lee, once a rising star, had fallen hard, and the scandal would forever define his legacy in the game. But the story doesn't end there. What happened next for Lee, both on and off the snooker table, reveals even more about the man behind the controversy. Stephen Lee's deliberate involvement in the match-fixing scandal didn't just tarnish his name, it felt like a deep betrayal to the entire snooker community.
This morning, I'm absolutely devastated with what's happened here. We're going to cut it short. I'm going to be with the QC on Friday morning, and we're going to look at the whole picture and start making some big holes in. They've got no facts.
Fans, players, and officials alike were stunned that someone of Lee's stature would engage in such activities, and the repercussions were swift and severe. His 12-year suspension sent a clear message. This kind of behavior would not be tolerated in professional snooker. But the ban was only the beginning of Lee's troubles. The fallout from the scandal went far beyond being sidelined from the sport. His actions shook the very foundations of trust and integrity in snooker. Players who once saw him as a competitor now viewed him with suspicion, and fans who once cheered him on felt disillusioned. The damage to his reputation was irreparable. The financial consequences hit just as hard. Without the income from playing professionally, and with his name tainted by scandal, Lee found himself in a dire situation. Sponsorships disappeared, and the lucrative opportunities he once enjoyed dried up almost overnight. For a player who had reached the heights of the snooker world, this was an unimaginable fall from grace. Lee's career, once filled with promise, had crumbled, and with his reputation in ruins, the road to redemption seemed almost impossible. But even as his professional life was in tatters, there remained one question. Could Stephen Lee ever rebuild what he had lost, or would the scandal forever define him? As Stephen Lee's snooker career came crashing down, the repercussions extended far beyond the confines of the sport. Financial strain became an ever-present burden, as Lee's primary source of income vanished with his 12-year suspension. The financial stability that came with his past success in ranking tournaments was now a distant memory. But it wasn't just the money. His personal life bore the brunt of the stigma attached to the scandal. Friends and former colleagues distanced themselves, and Lee found himself facing the isolating consequences of his actions. The shadow of his betrayal loomed large over every aspect of his life. No matter where he turned, the match-fixing scandal followed him, tarnishing his reputation in ways that would be difficult, if not impossible, to repair. This wasn't just a professional downfall. It was a personal one, as the trust he once enjoyed in the snooker community had been shattered. Yet, even with everything crumbling around him, speculation swirled about a potential return to the snooker circuit. Lee's suspension, while severe, wasn't permanent. The thought of him returning to the table after his ban ends is something that has sparked both curiosity and controversy. But make no mistake, if Lee ever steps back into the spotlight, the path won't be easy. He'll face scrutiny at every turn, with many questioning whether he deserves a second chance in the sport he once betrayed. The world will be watching, and the challenges will be immense. Can Stephen Lee truly stage a comeback, or has the damage to his career and reputation already sealed his fate? The possibility of Stephen Lee's return to snooker has ignited a much larger debate that goes beyond just one player. At the heart of the discussion is the question of accountability. How should athletes be held responsible for their actions? And should there be room for forgiveness after severe misconduct like match fixing? For many, Lee's fall from grace represents the need for strict consequences to maintain the integrity of professional sports. His actions not only betrayed the trust of his peers, but also tarnished the image of snooker itself. Yet there are others who argue that a lifetime of punishment is too harsh. Should one mistake define an athlete's entire legacy? If Lee serves his suspension and shows genuine remorse, should he be allowed to rebuild his career? It's a question that extends far beyond snooker, touching on themes of redemption, second chances, and whether certain actions can ever truly be forgiven in the competitive world of sports. History has shown that scandals like Lee's are not unique to him. Other players have found themselves embroiled in similar controversies, each one reminding us how easily a reputation can be tarnished and how difficult it is to restore. In snooker's long history, names that once represented greatness have faded into obscurity after such scandals. The ease with which a career can unravel after a single misstep is a sobering reminder of the high stakes in professional sports. As the debate rages on, the question remains: should athletes like Stephen Lee, whose actions have shaken the trust of an entire sport, be granted a second chance, or are some lines simply too damaging to ever be crossed? The answer may shape not just the future of one player, but the integrity of snooker itself. Stephen Lee's case is far from an isolated incident in the world of professional snooker. The sport has seen other players like Quinton Han and Marco Francisco fall into similar traps, with match-fixing scandals leading to their own bans and severely tarnishing their careers. Han, once a rising star, and Francisco, who showed immense promise, both face similar downfalls. Their involvement in manipulating match outcomes not only led to harsh suspensions, but also effectively ended their time in the spotlight, leaving behind a legacy clouded by controversy. What's particularly devastating about match-fixing scandals is that even the mere suspicion of involvement can irreparably damage a player's reputation. In a sport where precision and integrity are paramount, trust is everything. The shadow of doubt can linger for years, even after a player serves their suspension. For athletes like Lee, Han, and Francisco, the impact of their actions goes beyond personal losses. It shakes the foundation of snooker, making fans and fellow players question the integrity of the game itself. The lesson is clear. In the snooker world, as in all professional sports, the consequences of match fixing are severe and often lifelong. Whether proven guilty or merely suspected, the damage to a player's legacy can be catastrophic. Stephen Lee's potential return, like others before him, will be met with scrutiny, and the scars of his past actions will follow him for the rest of his career. As we continue to follow this ongoing story, one thing remains certain: trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild, and the snooker world will never look at these players the same way again.